Hey, guess what?
John, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing awesome because I just retired.
Yes, I knew this has been coming. Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah. Well, Roger, I need you to do something for me now.
Of course. Anything, man. Anything for you.
It's a very personal and important thing for me. And I don't have a paycheck, and I need a paycheck.
You need a paycheck?
Show me the paycheck, Roger.
Show you the paycheck.
Come on, Roger. Am I deaf here? I need to hear you say it to me now.
Show you the paycheck.
Not show you, show me the paycheck.
Oh, okay. I get it. Let me try this. Show me the paycheck.
Oh, it's kind of good, but maybe do it a little bit lower. Can you do like a low masculine voice now?
Show me the paycheck.
Okay, almost got it, but try to do it in the falsetto, like higher now.
Show me the paycheck.
Okay, now I'm feeling it. So like,
right.
That's better. I'm feeling it now.
All right. So what we need to do is show me the paycheck this month on the Retirement Answer Man Show. Thank you for joining me. My name is Roger Whitney. This is the show dedicated to helping you not just
survive
retirement. We want you to rock retirement. And if you're going to rock retirement, you're going to have to figure out how do you create a paycheck once you leave work. And that's what we're going to talk about this entire month on the show. So strap yourself in. This is the time that we're going to answer probably the number one question that people have. How do I pay for this rockin' retirement that I want to have?
Show me the paycheck, y'all.
All right, buddy. Thank you. So I'm really excited about this month. It's a big month because we're tackling a really important question. How do you pay for everything when you don't have a paycheck? So we're going to take this week by week, and today we're going to set the stage and then talk about how do you build a bucket system, and then how do you refill those buckets and do some of the mechanical things, and then also a more conservative strategy of building an income floor. So that's what's on deck for this entire month. But you know what we have to do before we do anything else. That's an all-important disclaimer. Real simple here. Don't take advice from me on the show. I don't know you. I don't give advice to you. You're not a client. Those are the only people I know enough about to give advice to. So make sure you talk to your advisor, your financial advisor, tax, legal, all those advisors before you make any decisions. And think of this as helpful hints and education. Hey, real quick note before we get started in the hot topics section is if you are interested in deep diving into how do you create your own paycheck and how do you count the cost, that is something that we're doing in the Rock Retirement Club. We're having weekly discussions on the topics we talk about on the show, and we're creating resources and some deeper dive courses so you can actually take action on all these important steps. So if you're interested in learning more and going deeper, go to rockretirementclub.com and you can put your name on the list. Right now, we don't have open enrollment, but we're going to be opening it up here in the next month or so. And these courses and resources will always be there. So you can go check that out. But now let's go to the hot topic and figure out how do we set yourself up for success when you leave your job. Do you remember when you got your first paycheck? Could have been from working for your parents, or maybe it was a paper route, or working at McDonald's. You know, let's just say you were 15. I think I started working a lot younger than that for my parents. But when you're 15 or 16 and you get that first paycheck from McDonald's or wherever, man, it feels powerful. You got some dough now. You got some cash that you get to decide what you use it for. No asking mom or dad for money or waiting for Christmas and hoping there's a $20 bill in the envelope. You went to work, you earned the money, and now you can spend the money. That habit and that feeling continues throughout your working life, assuming you have a career and you're making progress and eventually you earn more. And a lot of times in your 50s, you're at the point where you're earning more than you've ever earned in your life, right? Well, what happens when you retire and all of the sudden that paycheck goes away. That can be a bigger change than one might appreciate. Because what does a paycheck equal? A paycheck equals power. It equals confidence. You earn money so you can buy things and save things. So you can earn money and then you can buy things that are important to you and that your family needs. You can earn money and you can save, build up those cash balances. And man, as you see savings grow, well, that feels pretty good. Feels like, you're protecting the house a little bit. When you're earning money and bad things happen, that savings can be tapped, or you feel like you have the ability to maybe work harder or figure out how to earn more money to mitigate the damage of bad things. There's a lot of fulfillment that comes from earning money. Now let's think of the opposite. No paycheck, no power, right? Lack of earnings is like kryptonite. It steals the superpower to be able to earn money, to save, to provide for your family, to work out of bad mistakes or bad things happening. It's like a superpower. And then if you don't have earnings, well, your superpower is sort of limited now. No steady stream of income can lead to a scarcity mindset. I see this a lot in people that retire, and all of a sudden the thought goes, this is all I got. It may be a lot of money, but I'm not going to earn any more. So I got to make sure I save it and hold on to it really tight because there ain't no more going to be coming because I'm not earning any money anymore. And that can seep its way into lots of decisions, right? It can seep its way into vacations, into the kind of food you eat, into the kind of play you play at. Not that frugality is not good to a certain point, but it can turn bad when you're so concerned about losing what you've got that you live like a hermit in order to hold on to my precious little Lord of the Rings there. That scarcity mindset can zap your life. And what I have found is, and really just over the last 6 months I've been thinking about this, is there's a tipping point during retirement. As you age, there's that first period of retirement where, wow, I hope I have enough. I don't know how long I'm going to live. And you sort of hold on to it really tight. There's a tipping point when finally you feel, okay, I'm going to have enough. It's fine. And then you loosen up a little bit because you're like, okay, longevity, I have a better picture of what my longevity is going to look like. Well, that's great. But the problem is that tipping point usually happens way far towards the end of life when you have less energy, you're not doing as much, your health might not be as strong, and then you actually end up passing with much more money than you ever expected to pass with. The concept of bouncing your last paycheck is really attractive to a lot of people. It means they just, your last paycheck literally in money, but also your last paycheck physically. What was that quote? I think it was Hunter S. Thompson. Here it is. Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather a skid-in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride!" I like that. Well, no paycheck, no power can sometimes zap a little bit of that spirit because you're so worried about running out of money until it's too late to really have that crazy kind of ride. And that's something we got to try to manage, right? No paycheck, no power doesn't allow you to earn your way out of mistakes or bad things. The older you get, the more vulnerable you feel. And so this concept of if you're going to retire and really rock retirement, then we got to figure out how do you create some clarity on how you're going to pay for these things so you can have more confidence in order to live the kind of life that you want. So we want to set ourselves up for success. So let's go to the practical planning segment and sort of set the stage for what we're going to cover this week and talk about the beginning foundation of how you go about doing this. So for the last 20 or 30 years, the thinking around creating a paycheck has generally taken the form of calculating what your quote unquote number is, how much money do you need to have at the beginning of retirement, and then diving into withdrawal rates from your assets. That is generally the thinking that goes into much of retirement planning. And I think it's antiquated and it doesn't serve you very well. Not that you don't go through the exercise, but I don't think you can stop there. I was talking with a certified financial planner the other day, and they said at their firm, they still use withdrawal rates as determining what the spending budget can be. But also, in their process, they actually practice it where once a year, they sit with the client, how much money you're going to need, and then they just sell enough of, their investments to provide for the spending goals for the next 6 months or the next year or so. So a systematic withdrawal strategy, I think that can be dangerous. And I don't think it serves the client enough in terms of trying to fund, potentially front load a season early in retirement when you're healthy of go-go years. Because if you're focused on an annual withdrawal rate and sustaining whatever the number is, 4%, 5%, 3%, well, then you're assuming you're spending that way all the way to retirement. And we've covered a lot of this in shows past. And it could potentially cause you to way underspend early when you're healthier and more raring to go. And it may be safer because you're going to have more money later on potentially, but it's not very elegant. I don't know if it's one-dimensional thinking rather than multi-dimensional thinking. And I think you can tease out more life if you add some dimensions to it. As an example, I have some clients, and when we go through planning, we look at what the withdrawal ratios are, but we will have a year or so that might be a 7% withdrawal ratio, maybe a 10 or 15% withdrawal ratio, and then maybe a 2% withdrawal ratio or a 1% withdrawal ratio, depending on the particular year. So there's not this normal withdrawal ratio that you do every single year, especially if you want to have some go-go years, because you may have some years where it seems on paper, whoa, does that make sense? But when you zoom your lens out a little bit, open the aperture, if I'm saying that correctly, and see a broader picture, then you see, oh, okay, that's just a small little season because they're doing these 3 different things. Maybe it's a big family trip that you do once every 3 years. So every 3 years, your withdrawal ratio goes through the roof. Now, you could say, well, you could just average it out, and as long as within average from a withdrawal ratio standpoint, it's okay. But that numbers don't really work that way because you can't just sell it when you need it nowadays because we just don't know what returns are going to be. I remember back in the 1990s, in the new economy, the first new economy, I'm sure there were other versions even before that, of the internet era, I want to say it was Peter Lynch, and I'm going to attribute it to him, but forgive me if I get it a little bit wrong, but I believe he came out with a book that essentially said, hey, just put it all in stocks and sell it whenever you need it. And people were retiring, literally. And I mean, this sounds crazy nowadays, but people were retiring. And there were advisors that were saying, yeah, that's going to work because the new economy's awesome. People who were retiring say, okay, I'm going to take about 8 or 9% a year out because I'm going to earn 17% because we got this new economy thing going on. And I'm just going to sell it when I need it because I can't be out of these markets. They're too awesome. Well, we know how those stories ended up. If you don't, it wasn't good. So selling it as you need it can be dangerous because you don't know the price of what you're selling when you need it in the future. Because there are some cold winters that come, just like the Game of Thrones, that can be really, really scary. And you don't want to have to sell at the wrong time, especially when you don't have a paycheck. And emotionally, psychologically, that you don't have that shovel to help you work through those winters and shovel your way out. So you get why this is important. Now, maybe you can just sell it as you need it if you're extremely overfunded, meaning that you have way more than enough assets. And it's really a multi-generational issue we're dealing with, well, then maybe you can sell it when you need it because there's so much money. Just bet on the long term because your long term is literally maybe 100 years. But for us, mere mortals, we need a system. We need a system that gives us more clarity so we can have more confidence. So there's a couple of reasons why systems are important when it comes to creating this paycheck. Number one is they increase the clarity, which increases control and confidence that you're going to be okay, so you can make more reasoned decisions and maybe give yourself permission to have a little go-go in the early years. Now, I can tell you, I don't know how you quantify this, but probably one of the biggest values I see of myself when I work with clients is a lot of them, because they're so hardwired and natural savers, is I think one of the biggest values someone like me can add is giving someone enough perspective from someone who's walked that journey so many times that they are able to give themselves permission to have some go-go because they see and they hear that they're going to be okay. It's hard to know if you buy that RV or you spend all that money to take everybody to Disney World. It's hard to know on the front end, well, if I spend all this money, am I going to be okay? Or when the markets have the worst month since 1931, like we did in December, am I still okay? Or if you have the bad markets and you have the Disney trip coming up, these bad markets were horrible, and we have this huge expenditure coming up, but it's okay that I can still do it. That perspective can come from having a system of pre-planning to create a paycheck. Also, having a system can help take the pressure off of not knowing. You know by now that I think in an agile way when it comes to retirement, agile retirement management. And I think having a system where you're constantly rechecking takes the pressure off of worrying about 10 years from now, right? And then it also, having a system allows you to continually recalibrate to go where the puck is going and allows you to be flexible so you know when maybe it's not okay and you need to slow down a little bit. So that's the idea and the reason for having systems. And think about this with systems. We're used to living on what comes in. We get a paycheck that comes in and we allocate it to our lifestyle, our savings, debt reduction, and investing. Well, if we're used to having a paycheck, a lot of the systems we're going to talk about this month are systems that recreate a normal paycheck in a normal rhythm so you can operate not always wondering about it. And ultimately, what we want is this system to help protect you against return of sequence risk. Now, if you have big pensions and other things, that's not as big of an issue, but if you have a lot of financial assets, and that's really what you're focusing on to provide for this paycheck, well, the more sequence risk plays into the importance of having a system because we just don't know what returns are going to be. So here's an example. If we just look at, say, the S&P 500, if we look at the average return in the 1950s, it was about 14.5%. In the 2000s, it was flat. You remember back in 2009? There was 10 years of a flat return in stocks. But the average gap between the high and the low was like 40% difference from the average. So we never get average. One is we have different seasons of decades where we can have a 14% average or a flat percent average, or a 3% average in the 70s to a 13% average in the 80s to a 16% average in the 90s. You can see these averages decade by decade vary a lot. And then the high and low within those decades of how volatile it is varies a lot. So when we sit here and throw around, stocks can earn, 7 to 10% on average since 1928 or whatever the number is nowadays, well, that really means nothing. It may mean something for my kids. They're 22. Doesn't mean anything for you because if you're sitting here at 55 or 60, you really care about what the next 5 years or 10 years are going to be. And that could be anywhere from negative to awesome. So we need to have systems to create this paycheck so you can have clarity and we're not reliant on our retirement being funded by what season we might happen to go through, at least not entirely. So what we're going to do this month is next week, we're going to talk about the traditional bucket system of having cash reserves. And I'm going to talk about what it is and how you set it up. And then the following week, we're going to talk about how do you actually manage this cash reserve system or bucket system as your life unfolds. So how does this work? And then in the last week, we're going to talk about a more conservative approach, one that I've been using more and more. It's an asset liability exercise that a pension fund would do of building a floor for the income for you and your family and for your outflows so you can have more clarity and confidence on your spending. So it's going to be exciting. And we're going to be deep diving on all this stuff in the Rock Retirement Club. And so hopefully we'll help you answer this really important question is how do you create a paycheck? Now let's go on to the Happy Lab. Hey, welcome to the Happy Lab where we noodle on how to live a happier life. So, I was just in Atlanta and Nashville on business a few weeks ago over my birthday. And when I was in Atlanta and when I was in Nashville, I posted in the Rock Retirement Club that, hey, I'm going to be at this coffee shop for this period of time. Come and join me and let's hang out. So we had a couple people come in Atlanta. And then we had like 15 people with their spouses come in Nashville, and we hung out for like 3 or 4 hours just chatting. We had people driving 3-4 hours to come. It was awesome. And I guess what my point here in the Happy Lab is you got to find people that you resonate with from a worldview wise, and also that have the same spirit of trying to be really intentional about doing things. Because the more you surround yourself with people on the same journey doing that, the more fun it's going to be and the more traction you're going to get. And that's how you rock retirement. So I just thought that was fun. So who do you hang with, and are they helping you get where you want to go? If so, awesome.
On your marks, get set.
And we're off to set a 7-day goal to take a little baby step to create an awesome life. So in the next 7 days, what I would like you to do is start noodling on how are you going to actually pay for retirement? How are you going to create that paycheck? Maybe you're not giving it much thought. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you have a system. Why don't you go and review it and do some research on it and start thinking about this so you can refine this over the next 4 weeks, because that's going to give you a lot more confidence in taking care of your retirement. Hey, if you're not signed up for 6 Shots Saturday, go to rogerwhitney.com and put in your name and email, because this month we will be sharing some resources, some checklists and articles about setting up these kind of paycheck systems that we're going to be talking about. And I want to make sure you receive them. So go to rogerwhitney.com and sign up for 6 Shots Saturday and stay warm. It's February.
We appreciate you joining us today for this episode of Retirement Answer Man. Be sure to visit rogerwhitney.com/answers to access the Retirement Answer Library with over 30 checklists to help you make the most of the only life you have. Remember, you have more power than you realize to create an amazing life starting today with Retirement Answer Man. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Have a wonderful day.